There are about 2 weeks left of Marvel Rivals limited time zombies mode. If you still haven't been able to beat every hero on Nightmare 4 solo, do not worry, this is the video for you. I've been busy developing and testing the most foolproof strategies to win on each hero. These are more or less the strategies that I used to beat every hero live on stream. They took me about an hour each, and that was while I was still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But now that I've fine-tuned it, you can probably beat this even faster. The approach we'll take this video is we're going to start with some general advice that applies to everyone. Then we'll focus in on each hero one by one. We're going to go from the easiest to the hardest, in my opinion. And for each hero, what we'll do is we'll talk broadly, what are their specific weaknesses, what are their game plans. Then we're going to talk about the specific build, which of the upgrades you're going to want to run from the prepare menu. We'll talk about which blessings you should and shouldn't take during your run. There are some of them that are must takes, there are some of them that are optional, and there are some that you really should never take at all. And I'll include separate timestamps because for each hero, I'm also going to give you a really quick, really simple set of rules for which blessings you should take to get the simplest possible winning run. And the last thing we'll talk about for each hero is just some tips and tricks that I picked up while I was playing that really helped get me over the line. Alright, general advice. First things first, get to level 40. You get such massive bonuses for reaching level 40 when you fully spec into one of the blue or red upgrade trees, and trying to solo clear Nightmare 4 before getting to this maximum level, you're going in with lower stats and you're making it really difficult for yourself for no reason. To get to level 40 as quickly as possible, you need to be winning runs. Losing a run tends to get you almost no XP in my experience, no matter how well you do. The most consistent way to level up quickly is going to be to play Nightmare 3 and duo queue or random queue. We're not going to be playing this solo because it means that if you take an unlucky death, you can keep the run alive without having to use any of your revive tokens, and the revive tokens are in limited supply, and the more of them you hold onto for Nightmare 4, the better. Now, once we're playing Nightmare 4, the main advice I can give to you is just play super carefully, be super patient. There are a lot of ways to get one shot in this mode, and so you need to prioritize keeping distance from the enemies and being highly aware of what's happening around and behind you. And if you do take an early death in those first 5 rounds, don't even think about reviving. If you're dying early, you probably just need to get a feel for the hero, and that's going to happen over the first couple of runs. You'll get it pretty quickly, but using these revive tokens on your first few runs is wasting them when you could be using them later. And if you want to clear lots of heroes and you've got limited moon tokens, please just hold on to them because you don't want to run out and have to buy more. In our regular zombie waves, you're going to want to prioritize the ranged zombies first. So that's the plague zombies in particular and the grenade zombies. The plague zombies make it really difficult to stay mobile. They lock down the field with their poison, and that can just one-shot you if it gets stacked up. You really want to stop that from happening and kill them early. And the grenade zombies will just randomly cause you to blow up. It can be difficult to see where the grenades are coming from, and so keeping on top of them as well should be a high priority. You have to give massive amounts of respect to the fire zombies and the sentinels. Do not be hanging around close to them because they have the capacity to one-shot you at any moment. You can sort of read when the sentinels are going to attack based on their animations, but that only starts to happen when they thin out in numbers. If there are lots of them, just keep your distance. Play really patient. You need to be aware of where the spawn points are so that you can keep checking on them. Things spawning behind you without you realizing is a really easy way to die. Just doing a lot of quick checks is a great way to make sure that you're constantly on top of that. And you're going to want to make sure that you've always got an escape route planned. If you know that there are zombies that could be coming in from behind, you've got to know which way you're going to run if they start encroaching. It's also important to know that after round 15 thereabouts, zombies are going to start spawning in the back corner of the map where the players spawn. Up until this point, that is sort of a safe place to leave your back turned to so that you can keep your eyes on all of the action. You've got to keep your head on a lot more of a swivel from round 15 through 19. At this point, it's the end of the run. Just play it really paranoid and you should be fine. For the boss fights, you're going to get a smaller number of regular zombies spawning, but you should still make it a priority to kill them over the boss. The last thing that you want to do is be tunnel visioned on the boss and then get third partied by the regular enemies. Remember, they can one-shot you too. They're just as dangerous as the boss, if not more dangerous. So take care of them early, they're pretty quickly going to stop spawning, and then you can have your full undivided attention on that boss. For heroes with piercing damage, you can sort of position yourself behind the boss where you're also looking at the enemy spawn points so that you can be doing both at once. The first Namor fight tends to be fairly easy. Just make sure you take care of the regular enemies first, kill all of his squids to bring him down to the ground, and then you're going to just want to finish him off quickly while avoiding getting knocked down by his ult. We'll talk more about how each hero approaches dealing with that ult as we talk about the heroes. For the Wanda fight, once you know the correct technique, it is literally just a stat check, and not a particularly hard one to pass either. You need to have enough HP and damage reduction to not get one-shot by her sorcery surge, and enough damage to kill her before her reality erasure finishes. Other than that, you just need to keep moving to avoid her stuns, especially when she's in her shielding phase. Just keep walking circles around her, you'll be fine. The Wanda Namor fight is usually, in my experience, the hardest boss fight in the game. In the solo Namor fight, the bubble is usually harmless, but combined with Wanda's stun, which stops you from attacking and therefore healing, it can be a deadly combo. You need to either have a way of avoiding the bubble, or being able to deal enough DPS to heal through it even while you're getting stunned. More on that when we talk about each hero. The double Wanda fight is a more punishing stat check than the first Wanda fight, but it's still not too bad. You want about 8,000 HP along with as much damage reduction as you can get to avoid getting one shot when both of the Wandas use their sorcery surge, and you need to have enough range to constantly deal damage to at least one of the Wandas, even when they teleport all the way across the map. Now, you generally don't want them both to be shielding at the same time, since that's going to create a lot of stun fields across the map and do a lot of burst damage at once. The way I like to approach this is to chip down one of the Wandas a bit more than the other. Once they're sort of staggered in that way, you can attack them both at the same time, so that as one goes into the shielding phase, the other one comes out, and you sort of cycle them that way. The idea is that they both enter reality erasure at the same time, and it's just a lot easier to deal with. That said, if this is too much for you to juggle, focusing them one by one is also very safe. It just means that while you take out the first one in their reality erasure, you have to keep moving to dodge the stuns of the other. Now, Konshu's blessings, let's talk about the purple ones that are shared between all of the heroes. I gathered a bunch of data on how often every card shows up in the shop for each hero, and I've used that, combined with the experience of my own runs, to inform my optimal strategies for getting the most DPS and the builds which are generally the easiest to pilot. As I said, scaling health and damage reduction is very important for the boss fights, particularly the last double Wanda fight. So you're going to want to take every Moonlight protection that you see. The damage reduction is invaluable. Now, on every hero, we are always going to take Gold Vitality Boost. That's plus 450 HP. You can occasionally take the purple rarity ones, plus 185 HP. Maybe you want to take it early in your run because you're starting with less HP on certain heroes, or maybe you want to take it late in your run because you got unlucky with the gold vitality boosts, and so you just need some more to make up the difference and get up near that 8,000 health mark. Then the power surge, the damage increase, is actually way better than you might think. The increased damage that this gives multiplies with any red or blue damage bonuses. So even though the hero specific damage bonuses have bigger numbers and seem to scale faster, you generally want to take more of the purple cards. If you've done optimization problems in calculus for maximizing a number, this might make sense to you. Just trust me, sort of trying to keep them level is best, and so the one that scales slower is going to be the one that you need more of. So in general, we're going to take any power surge upgrade except for the grey rarity ones. They're just not worth it. Maybe you won't take the blue ones early in your run if you're trying to get to that tier 3 hero specific bonus, but towards the end of your run, if all you're trying to do is maximize your damage, take everything but grey. Now, Primordial Frost and Zeus's Thunder, do not take them, ever. Some people like to take one Primordial Frost for the freeze CC effect that it has. Never take any more than that. I personally don't think you even need that, but the damage that these things are providing is not worth it. If you want to do as much damage as possible, you want to fully spec in to one singular ability and taking everything that multiplies together to have the most exponential growth. It's technically not exponential, the mathematician in me talking, but that's the idea. Primordial Frost and Zeus's Thunder do not multiply that base damage of your main attack. And so they're really going to slow down the scaling that you could get if you were spending those credits elsewhere. Vampiric Vitality, the lifesteal, this is a must take on every hero except for Blade. Blade gets enough lifesteal on his own, but what you need is enough lifesteal to stay at full health every single hit you take. This is going to happen somewhere between getting 2 to maybe 5 of these upgrades. After that, there's no point in taking more of these because you're either going to die in one shot or you're going to be at full health, so more lifesteal really doesn't do anything. Which is exactly why you should never take Restorative Respire. Healing over time and healing outside of battle just is not needed. It is a waste of your money. Once you've got lifesteal, you're either going to be at full health or getting one shot, as I said, so this card never gives you any value. And the last one, Full Moon. Always take this, always. Unless you are literally on the last shop before the Double Wander fight, you want to take this card. Some people have said only take it in the first few rounds. That is nonsense. The last shop, at the start of this shop, you get awarded 150 credits. What's 10% of that? 15 more credits. Should you spend 10 credits to get 15 credits? Yes. So in the worst case scenario, if you're getting offered Moon Power on the second last shop, it's still going to make you 5 credits, so you should take it. I should also mention random spins. There is a strategy where you can use the random spins to kickstart your run. The idea is that you're going to re-roll until you find one really good card that you want to duplicate a bunch of times, so you're going to take that card, and only that card, then go for your random rolls. You hope that from these random rolls, you get one of the cards which duplicates something that's in your collection, and since there's only one card in your collection, that's the one that's going to get duplicated a bunch of times, and you get to start with a lot of this one really good card. It's basically maxing out your RNG, and you're getting it at a discounted price. You can just keep taking random spins until they add something into your deck that you don't want to duplicate. This means that if you get the health bonus, it doesn't matter, you can still take more random spins. And if you're unhappy with the results, if you didn't get enough duplications, or you spent too much money getting stuff that you didn't need, you can just reset the run. It takes about 30 seconds between quitting out of the run to getting into a new one. It's not a big deal at all. Now, you do not have to do this on every hero, but I am going to recommend it even when it's not necessary for the easiest to pilot run, because it just gets you off to such a quick start where the earlier rounds are easier to just get through without making any silly mistakes. And so if you're looking for a run for absolute beginners who aren't able to make it through those first few rounds consistently, then this is going to be a great way to make those rounds easier. Alright, that's everything I wanted to say that applies to all of the heroes. Let's talk about Blade. Blade is probably the easiest hero on average throughout the entire run. You just build for as much DPS on his sword as possible and take as much range as you can. That is the entire game plan. Now you get to play from a safe distance at all times, you get to mow down entire waves really quickly, and you get to stay really mobile because his base movement speed in vampire form is really high. Before the game, you're going to want to fully invest in the red skill tree because we're going to be using his sword. You should never be using his gun under any circumstances, and his ult is only there to help you in the first couple of rounds if you get bad luck on the rolls, but if you've got good rolls, like your primary is still stronger than your ult, off rip. Because of that, it really does not matter which abilities you upgrade because they're just never going to be used. The orange version of his ult is generally considered to be better, but I haven't really tested the green one because it just does not matter for your Nightmare 4 runs. So we're never going to take any of the Konshu's blessings which upgrade Blade's ult, because that just means less moon power to spend on scaling the sword, which already does plenty of damage. And that's before even considering that at tier 2, Blade's ult makes you stand still while casting it, which makes it really useful if your goal happens to be to get killed. Blade is one of those heroes where you really don't have to go for the random spins to win, but it is going to make the run even easier if you're struggling. If this is the route that you go for, you're going to want to take the golden On the Hunt card to get a bunch of damage early while also rapidly approaching Blade's tier 3 ability, which gives him a huge boost in DPS. You're going to want to take gold on the hunt cards whenever you see it. You'll want to take purple ones as well if you didn't use this random spin strategy. You're going to want to take every single Swift Edge and Sweeping Edge ability that you see. Yes, even the grey ones. The range and the speed are invaluable. Crimson Will. Never take this. Blade has enough lifesteal by default. His lifesteal scales with his damage. More damage is more lifesteal, so just upgrade the damage. As I said, never take Edge Extension or Fatal Rout because we're not going to be using our ult anyways. And as for the blue cards, the only one that you need to worry about, for the most part, is Sacrifice Sigil. We're going to be taking one of these to spawn Unks, and these are going to help you control the hordes. Once you've got one that already spawns Unks, you don't need any more Unks, you'll get enough from just one of these cards. Now Blade Dance is also good, it's really good, but you don't have to take it to win. The Sword Spin's damage does not scale with On the Hunt, it scales with Fatal Flash instead. That said, the Sword Spin does so much damage that sometimes this scales just from the purple cards to keep up with your regular primary attack. And if you're speedrunning, giving some attention here might be the way to go. If you're an advanced player, you should take a few of these Blade Dance upgrades, one or two of the Fatal Flash cards, the golden ones, which give you plus 600% damage, that massively improves your DPS, and then one or two Night Runner cards just to reduce the dash cooldown so that you can do it more often, especially if you're getting stunned out of it. It's just nice to have that cooldown lower. Bear in mind, this is for the more advanced players because every upgrade to the dash is credits that aren't being spent on your sword, and your sword is what you're going to be using most of the time. The dash is also a little bit more dangerous because you have to get up close to the people who can potentially one-shot you. It's very much a trade, it's good for speedrunning, but it just adds a level of complexity. For the simplest run, I'm not going to recommend speccing into this dash at all because your primary does enough to get you through the run and it's really easy. So the simplest run for Blade, you're going to start by resetting to duplicate a golden On the Hunt card to kickstart your damage. Then you're going to take every single golden vitality boost, non-grey power surge, every moonlight protection, every full moon, every golden On the Hunt, every swift edge, and every sweeping edge that you see. On top of that, you're going to take Sacrifice Sigil exactly once and then never again. And that is literally it. Blade is really simple to pilot. You don't take much, but what you do take is really effective. A couple of tips for Blade. You want to use his dash as a defensive tool to stop yourself from being cornered. You've got to be a bit careful about how you aim this. If you're too close to dashing by someone, you might get stuck on them and start spinning, but you can always dash up into the air and sort of assess from there. Blade's parry can also help him survive if you'll notice you're mere moments away from getting one shot. And this parry gives you CC immunity, so it can also be used to instantly break out of Namor's bubble, which is especially important in the Namor Wanda fight. This is a way to stop yourself from getting in the spin cycle where you're bubbled and stunned at the same time. For Namor in phase 2, if you're not sure if that ult is going to hit you, it is very easy to parry, and you should just default to parrying it whenever you're not completely certain that it's going to miss. Err on the side of parrying sooner rather than later. The window to parry is pretty big. You can do it fairly early without getting knocked down. You want to time it just a little bit before. The next hero is Jeff. Jeff is actually quite easy in my opinion because it is really easy to survive. You do massive area damage from the very start of the game. You get to do it from a distance, so you just get to safely mow down all of the hordes, and the escape tools when he's getting overwhelmed are also really strong. The area where Jeff struggles is in the damage race against Wanda's reality erasure. Lots of runs will end at round 10 if you do not have a strong plan for scaling your damage. The simplest solution is just to reset to duplicate Golden Jetstream Cannon. This is going to give you the kickstart that your run needs to keep your DPS high enough to win these damage races. Now we're going to build into his red skill tree and take his orange Hydro Grenade upgrade. You're not going to be using this Hydro Grenade often, but I find it useful to be able to stun enemies when you have to. Your bubble upgrade does not matter for the playstyle that I'm going to recommend because I've really only used the bubble for self-healing, which neither upgrade affects. I actually ran this without any upgrade at all. And the alt upgrade That's probably fine either way. I personally used the orange upgrade, but ulting really isn't a key part of our build. Now let's talk about Konshu's blessings for Jeff. The ammo reserve is so big by default and his reload is so fast that I just don't ever see a need to take deep sea reserve. You've got pretty much 100% damage uptime by default, so what is the point of trying to minimize the time that you're reloading? It's already so small. You should take every single rapid surge that you see. More speed, more fire rate means more hits, which means more multiplicative damage per second. For his jet stream cannon, we're only going to take the golden variant. From my testing, these are actually more common than the other two, the purple and the blue ones, so buying those is wasted moon power that could have been spent on more spins to see more of the golden upgrades, which are just much better value. Bubble Party, I think, is worthless because we're not going to be using our bubbles offensively, and Gnashing Waters is the kind of card that you take every single time that you see it. It's multiplicative damage, it's damage over time, and it thins out the hordes really quickly. Now, most blue cards don't help you at all, except for Shark Sovereignty. Now, you can take this, but you don't have to. It gives you another flat multiplier on your damage, but to build that multiplier, you have to land ults, which can be risky because the Sentinels are CC immune. They can easily one-shot you at the start or the end of your ult while you're not able to move. Now yes, you do get a damage increase for your trouble, but your hitbox also gets bigger. Whether you want to make this trade is up to you and your personal preference. I won my Jeff run while taking Shark Sovereignty. I know that Matchu, who has beat Jeff several times, tends not to take it. So for Jeff's simplest run, what you're going to do is start by resetting to duplicate the golden Jetstream cannon ability. Then you're going to take every single golden vitality boost, every non-grey power surge, every moonlight protection, every full moon, every rapid surge, every golden Jetstream cannon, every Gnashing Waters. You're going to take 2 to 4 of the Vampiric Vitality cards just to increase your self-healing, and you're also going to take some purple rarity vitality boosts near the end of your run just to make sure that you're approaching 8,000 health. If you're already on target for that, don't worry about this, but we need to be there for the double wonder fight to make sure that we're not taking unnecessary deaths. My tips and tricks for Jeff are going to start with playing from the back corner near where you spawn. This is a really safe spot to play until after the Wander No More fight, then more enemies are going to start spawning there and you're going to have to be a little more mobile. You should constantly be swiveling your head to check all of the spawns. You can really easily look away from the horde for just a moment because your damage is going to keep going because of Gnashing Waters. That's going to keep them at bay while you look away. If at any point you're getting overwhelmed, just place a bubble at your feet as you dive underwater. The enemies really struggle to hit you while you swim and you get tons of healing, and you're fast enough to outspeed all of the enemies while you're swimming. If faster enemies are chasing you while you swim and you're worried about them hitting you as you resurface, what you'll do is turn around and as you resurface, immediately fire your stunning bubble. This will buy you enough time to kill them and reclaim a bit of a space advantage to breathe in. In the more second phase, you're just going to want to keep really far away, and generally none of the ults are ever going to spawn on top of you, but if they do, you can be CC immune by going underground. If during the second phase his squids start building up a lot of damage on you and you're worried that you're going to get your healing outpaced, I like to just flick my Jetstream cannon from side to side to start applying more damage to more targets, which means more healing. At the same time, that damage over time is going to take out some of the weaker squids, which reduces the damage which is incoming at the same time. Now for Wanda and her reality erasure, Jeff is the only hero where you have to be really intentional about making sure you destroy those crystals to buy yourself more time. You do have to move your attack to hit those where the other heroes, their range is just big enough that they don't even have to think about it. So just don't forget to do that, and if you've scaled your damage, you should be alright. This is the hardest part of the run, this is the make or break moment, so just make sure you're buying all of those golden Jetstream cannons, make sure to get your duplicates at the start, and you should be good. Thor. I find that Thor's easiest build to get off of the ground is his blue build. There are two key difficulties here though. Firstly, you start with quite low HP, so you're going to need to take extra care in the first few rounds. Secondly, Thor really wants to get his tier 3 upgrade as early as he can, but there's not a great way to do this because you don't have many good golden rarity cards that you're going to want to take a bunch of. You can only buy Endstorm and that golden rune recycle once each, and any more than 2 or 3 of the power prolongation cards is just a waste of your time. These are Thor's only golden cards in his blue set, so you're going to have to scale a little slower with his purple cards instead. So that means if you want to duplicate something early to get you off the ground, the best thing to go for is going to be the purple Allfather's Might or Cranium Crusher. I'm actually not sure if you can duplicate the Cranium Crusher. I'm sure you probably can, but I just got a bit unlucky and it never happened for me. But according to the numbers that I've run, these are equally good, so just duplicate whichever one you see first. That said, the duplication strategy is inherently less strong for Thor, since you're not able to duplicate gold cards, and so you get half the value by duplicating the purple ones. Now we are of course going to be taking Thor's blue tree upgrades. As for abilities, we won't be using Mjolnir Bash often, since we're going to be spending all of our time in Rune Awakening, but that means that the green upgrade for this bash is slightly better. It's just in case you ever get stuck without the Thor Force that you need to go back into Rune Awakening, you can use a Mjolnir Bash to get that Thor Force quickly, and the larger hitbox of the hammer makes it easier to land that throw. For Lightning Realm, my preference is the green Concussion Cell upgrade, since stunning enemies can come in clutch, and for the ult, the orange Thunderclap Surge is the better option, since it lets you knock up all of the plague zombies, and to help you avoid getting overrun by poison just covering the whole arena, you can sort of slow them down if you can't kill them quickly enough. That said, you are stationary for a moment after landing the ult, so be careful not to be landing near the CC immune sentinels or in poison fields that have been stacked together, or you can have this backfire and just die right after ulting. Alright, let's look at his blessings. You're going to want to take every single Allfather's Might upgrade. Yes, even the grey ones. Since we don't have a gold variant which scales exceptionally fast, it actually is best to be taking all of these upgrades. We're also going to take every single Enchanted Flurry for more speed. Power Prolongation is a funny one in my eyes. You generally don't need it, or at least you don't need much of it. You can take a couple of gold ones early on to help you have a little bit less downtime, which can be dangerous in boss fights to cycle out and back into the rune recycling. And the other nice thing about taking just a couple of these cards is to help you get to your tier 3 upgrade faster. But you just don't need many of the power prolongation cards because it doesn't improve your DPS. For Rune Recycle, you only need one of these, or one of the golden variants at least, and this will let you have permanent uptime on Rune Awakening. As far as I can tell, you will stop getting this show up in your shop as soon as you buy a single gold one, so take it whenever you see it, I guess. Now, Thunder Havoc is decent. Your projectile explosion radius scales with the size of your hammers, but you're only scaling the area of effect, not the damage. So I think that these are worth taking just to sort of get you to the tier 3 upgrade faster, and then once you're there, I wouldn't bother taking any more of these because it's not scaling your damage. On the other hand, Cranium Crusher scales obscenely fast. You should take every single one of these that you see. And Endstorm is a single purchase upgrade, and this is really strong. The sooner that you get this, the better, the easier your early rounds are going to be. As for the red upgrades, none of these are going to help Thor's blue build in any way whatsoever. You should just ignore all of them. For Thor's simplest run, here are the rules. You're going to reset to duplicate a purple Allfather's Might or Cranium Crusher at the start of the run. Just take whichever you see first and start duplicating that. Then you're going to take every single Golden Vitality boost, every non-grey Power Surge, every Moonlight Protection, every Full Moon, every Allfather's Might, every Enchanted Flurry, every Golden Rune Recycle, every Cranium Crusher, and every end storm. You'll take 2 to 4 of the Vampiric Vitality cards to get more self-healing. You'll want to take just a few of the purple rarity Vitality boost cards at the start of the run, unless you see tons of gold ones, just to help with your low starting HP. Take just a few of the golden power prolongation cards, and take Thunder Havoc, but only until you reach Thor's tier 3 upgrade, then you can ignore it. My tips for Thor: when you leave Rune Awakening, there's a bit of a delay before you can enter it again, even with the rune recycle. If there are zombies nearby, this is a great moment to drop your concussion cell to buy yourself a little bit more time to just make this transition smoother. And then I found myself dying quite a lot in the boss fights, especially with the Wanda Namor fight, since Thor has no defense against getting bubbled by Namor and then stunned by Wanda, and then you lose a lot of your DPS because you're only attacking half the time, you lose your self-healing, you just get overrun, especially if you have to cycle through your Rune Awakening while you're bubbled. That is an instant death sentence. The trick that instantly made these fights way easier for me was to stop using that Endstorm right-click ability during boss fights. Endstorm's extra damage comes at the cost of consuming your Rune Awakening duration way faster, and the downtime while you cycle back can just lead to unavoidable deaths during the boss fights. So instead of taking a million power prolongation upgrades to make sure that you never have to cycle this ability during the boss fight, just use your left click instead. The damage isn't that much lower, and it means that you can survive the entire boss fight without ever having to leave the Rune Awakening state, even if you've only taken a couple of power prolongation cards. And this is why I recommend you take just maybe 2-3 of the golden ones. Now Magik. Magik is a funny one. She is very, very vulnerable at the start of the run, since she starts with low health and absolutely no lifesteal. I've rated her as the second hardest hero because she has such a tough time in the early rounds, but she gets much, much stronger as the game progresses. Make sure to get the Vampiric Vitality early, try not to get impatient in the early game and make bad decisions and try to rush. Just trust that it will speed up as you go, be patient early, and it'll pay off in the late game. We are using Magik's red build, despite the fact that her blue build is far easier in the early game because of the late game. The blue build struggles on single targets and therefore struggles on Wanda's reality erasure. Having to reset after failing a Wanda boss fight is a lot worse than having to reset because on the red build you struggled in the early rounds. You're losing a lot less time by losing a red build run versus losing a blue build run. Once you get past the early game of the red build, she just gets so incredibly strong in the late game. You're getting all of these marks on the targets, which gives you tons of damage reduction, tons of ranged damage and area of effect damage. It's just massive damage in all regards. Now the upgrades. The red tree, of course, we're upgrading this. And for the ult, what we're going to do is take the orange Mortal Will upgrade to give us a permanent stat boost. Yes, we can't ult, but we didn't want to really anyways. For her dash, the green Limbo Step is the way to go. You're not going to be using this for damage, you're using this as a mobility tool to keep out of trouble. So being able to pass through enemies is essential. If you drag the enemies with the orange upgrade, you risk getting one shot at the end of your dash because you brought the enemies who do high damage right beside you. For stepping discs, we're going to take Demonic Barrier. In the red build, her spin is much worse than her primary because it's so slow, and so taking the green upgrade is arguably a nerf. The orange one is better just by default. As for the random duplication strategy, it just isn't worth your time on Magik. I didn't realize this during my runs. I attempted to duplicate some stuff, but I hardly got any dupes and it just didn't matter. It is much more important than duping some damage at the start of your run that you get Vampiric Vitality so that you can survive. So, the Konshu's Blessings. Magik already has tons of range, so we only need to take the blue variant of the Soul Domain upgrades. The grey ones just aren't worth your time. Arcane Sword Dance is really, really good. It increases your attack speed, but the grey ones aren't worth your time because the blue and the purple are such good value. You'll be taking enough of these. The grey actually slows down your respins more than anything else. Arcane Armor, in my opinion, is solving a problem that's already better solved by the purple upgrades that we're taking. You're already getting lifesteal and bonus health which doesn't depend on your overshield, which can decay, and so I don't like taking this at all. Innate Slash is your primary damage upgrade. You're going to take every gold and purple card that you see. You're also always going to take Devouring Sigil. This extra damage reduction and doing damage at the same time is massive. Mark Detonation, in my opinion, is not worth it. It doesn't scale with your sword damage as far as I can tell, so we would rather stack this damage into Innate Slash or Devouring Sigil or something else. You should always take Soul Surge. This is ranged damage which helps you keep the distant spawn points in check. It fires in all directions once you get Magik's tier 2 upgrade, and most importantly, it scales with your other red upgrades. The Innate Slash makes this better. And once again, none of Magik's blue cards help her red build in any way. So putting this together, her simplest run on Magik, you're not going to take any random spins at the start of your run. Instead, you're going to prioritize getting at least one Vampiric Vitality before the game starts. You're going to aim to take 2 to 4 of these in total throughout your run. Then you're going to take every single Golden Vitality boost, every non-grey Power Surge, every Moonlight Protection, every Full Moon, every blue Soul Domain, all of the purple and blue Arcane Sword Dancers, the golden purple Innate Slash upgrades, every Devouring Sigil, and every Soul Surge. Tips and tricks: Magik's dash and her stepping stones are both very strong defensively, and once you reach tier 3 on Magik's red tree upgrade, you get 100% uptime on all of your abilities since your soul swords reduce your cooldowns. So you can just spam these abilities to constantly be getting away from groups of zombies or to dodge the stuns that Namor and Wanda do during the boss fights. And Magik's Demon is very effective at pulling aggro, so you can use this to help you control the spread of the zombies in the same way that Blade's Unks can, or you can sort of create some distance between yourself and the Horde if you feel like you're getting overrun and need to create more space or an escape route. Alright, last hero, Punisher. This is the one that I think is the hardest because he struggles the most in the late rounds. That said, he really has no problem burning through Wanda's reality erasure, or any of the bosses in general, so as long as you have the respawn tokens to burn, you can basically guarantee yourself a win on this run. We're going to be using Punisher's red build with the Adjudication Rifle, so take the full red tree of upgrades. We'll also take the green turret upgrade, Relentless Pursuit. Since the turret's damage doesn't scale, we don't want to sit inside of the turret and stop using our gun, which does scale, so we really want the one that we can place remotely. For the zipline, the orange Phantom Rush upgrade is extremely helpful, especially in the later rounds, for the speed boost that it gives you. Punisher is slower than some of the zombies, and so this can be essential to surviving some of the later waves as you really get overwhelmed. As for his ult, it does not matter what you take. Punisher has no way of scaling his ult meaningfully, and it slows you down to an absolute crawl, so you never want to be ulting as Punisher in Nightmare 4. It also doesn't seem to be worth taking random spins for Punisher. Your expected damage by the end of the game is the same whether you get the duplications or not, and he really doesn't need the head start that it gives him either. He's plenty strong enough in the early game as is. Now, the blessings on Punisher are interesting. Overwhelming Assault, that looks good on paper, but it's actually bugged. This upgrade doesn't do anything at all until you take tons of them, and even then, the fire rate increase is pretty small. It is absolutely not worth the investment. Now, for Punisher's upgrade, take every single gold and purple card that you see if you want to maximize your damage. Now, there's no point in taking Extended Rifle Magazine because Punisher virtually never has to reload once you get the Smart Magazine upgrade anyway, and his magazine size is plenty big enough by default. You should take every single precision judgment that you see. Increasing your headshot multiplier is another multiplier on top of damage, and the more multipliers you're scaling, the more the exponential your growth is. Deadly Lock-On is okay. I say play this one by feel. You only need one of them to synergize with Smart Magazine and ensure that you never have to reload, but the more of these you take, the longer the head tracking stays active, which gives you time to sort of look behind yourself and check spawns without stopping shooting the wave that's approaching from the front. This is one where taking more technically doesn't improve your run much in terms of your damage output, but it does make it a fair bit easier to keep track of what's going on, so I did take a few of these. Rapid reload is worth it as a one-off purchase. There are a few moments throughout the run where you have to reload. If you're inside a Namor bubble, for example, you don't have to reload often at all, but when you do, you're occasionally glad to have this. Smart Magazine is a must-take. As I said before, once you have this, you essentially never have to reload again, and so it just gives you 100% damage uptime. It's a one-off purchase, there's absolutely no reason not to take this. So for Punisher's simplest run, don't take any random spins, and you will take every single Golden Vitality Boost, non-grey Power Surge, Moonlight Protection, Full Moon, Gold and Purple Punisher's Upgrade, Precision Judgment, Rapid Reload, and Smart Magazine. You're going to take 2 to 4 Vampiric Vitality cards for the lifesteal, and you're going to take probably 3 to 5 of the Golden Deadly Lock-On cards, just so that you can look around at your flanks while you are shooting the Horde. Tips and tricks for Punisher. In the early rounds, what I like to do is to set up your turret on top of this bus. You're going to get some chip damage from a position where most of the zombies cannot damage the turret. Thank you, tokens, for showing me this. The damage does drop off quite quickly, so in the medium rounds, what you can use it for is to draw aggro by placing it on the ground to buy yourself some more space, like what Magik does with her demon. But as you get into the later rounds, this gets one-shot by even the basic zombies, so the turret essentially ends up doing nothing. Now, Punisher does get overwhelmed really easily because of his low walking speed, so we need to focus on how to keep our mobility up. We need to make the faster zombies an increased priority in who we're killing. We're going to use smoke grenades to create distance at the first sign of trouble, and something that can be quite helpful in the late rounds as you're getting attacked from all sides is to set up zip lines across the map so that you sort of create this circuit where you can run circles and keep speed boost as often as possible. Alright, that is every hero. Hopefully this video isn't too long. Please like and subscribe to help me out. It is a great deal of help. Let me know how you go. I would love to hear of your success stories with this method, or any adaptations that you use to make the runs even easier to pilot. I would love to know about that too. And remember, I've got a Discord server now that you can join. This is mainly geared towards Spider-Man stuff, but hey, if you're not a Spider-Man player, you're still welcome. There's a cool community, people do VOD reviews, people do giveaways, so check it out. That's gonna be all for now. I'll see you soon. Cheers.